Okay, let's try that.
Okay, welcome. We'll wait for everybody to join us. So remember, as we've done before, to sign in. Today's setup's just a little bit different. I can't put it on top of the computer, so I'm going to just put the camera off to the side and go from there. Today's class is going to be a little bit different anyway, since it's our last one of instruction. So we're going to just have a wrap up of distracted driving and a few other things, and then we'll talk about the final tomorrow. Returning the textbooks. So we've got 4 people in, 6 people. So remember to text me. Let me know that you are here. And Josie, check your email. I sent you a review sheet. Like everything else, I'm having a hard time getting things to you. So please check. And I just don't know how to get things to you. It just isn't working. So Joey, Brooke, Liz, Rachel, Natalie, Luca, uh, Clayton. While we're waiting, I think it's what I've been doing the last couple sessions was just showing a video, kind of reviewing what we talked about or something that's a little bit lighthearted, like finding that video of my son. So I'm going to throw this on the screen and see if this will show. One of the things we talked about yesterday was motorcycle um, behavior out on the road. What are some of the things that create problems? And we said it was about 50-50 between the driver and the motorcycle rider who's at fault. I'm going to show you a couple clips of some motorcycle riders that are high risk riders, and they were doing things that they probably shouldn't have been doing. And you're going to see some motorcycle crashes. Now, I want you to put down in your notes, it's called lane splitting. A lot of the videos that you see where motorcycles do not stay in their lane, traffic is backing up, they either use the breakdown lane or the far left lane, or they go in between cars to travel. So let's see if I can find, where did I put it? Here it is. Yep. So here comes lane splitting. Going between the two vehicles. Notice he just caught an edge with the BMW. Luckily, he's up. Doesn't look to be too worse for the wear, but his bike is all messed up. I think he's going just a little bit too fast.
Ёбаный дурак, блядь.
Ой, Господи, Вася, Вася, остановись.
So you can see that a lot of these riders were doing things that they shouldn't do. So part of being a defensive driver is looking out for mistakes of other people. So this is where your rear view mirror checks, your side view mirror checks are going to be playing a real important role in what you do as a driver. Let's see if I can get out of this now. Figures. It's not going to let me get out. That's all right. We'll go to this. Is this going to work? There we go. All right, so this is what we're going to be talking about today, distracted driving, and probably texting and driving is probably the worst type of distracted driving that we have. But before we really dive deep into distracted driving, I want to go over a few things. If you did not receive a review sheet from me, I want you to text me at some point during today's session, so I'll try to find a way to get you the material. What I want you to do with the review is I want you to answer the questions to the best of your ability. And then sometime around 8 o'clock tonight, I will post on YouTube the correct answers. So you're going to come back to my channel and I will have, I think it's about 82, 83 questions. I think I threw a couple questions in at the very end that's not in the video. But if you go to the YouTube channel, I will go through question by question of the review sheet and give you the correct answers. Now, a lot of the material that's on the final is going to be from your notes. Now, some is from the reading, from the textbook, some is from the manual. A lot of it's common sense. So if you can do well on the questions that I've sent you and study them extremely hard tonight and tomorrow, you should do well with the final tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Now, some of the questions will be very closely worded. Some of them will not be on the final, but it's good information for you to know. As I said before, a lot is going to be situational. What should you do in this type of driving situation? So we're still going to have class tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Just before 4 o'clock, I'll send the link. Once you tune in, I will have the password. I'll be on screen like I just was just a moment ago. And I'm going to stay online till everybody's done. And I'm going to give you a little over an hour like we've been having for class. That way, if you have a comment, you can put it in the comment portion of the YouTube session that we're in right now. Or, because you're probably going to use your phone. Or you could do the test on your computer, use your phone to text me a message. That way I can help you with anything that isn't quite clear to you. So I want to make myself available and I want everybody doing it at the same time. I just don't want to give it to you. So we're going to start at 4 o'clock and then it'll probably give you, I'm going to give you probably about an hour and 15, hour and 10 minutes to complete it. All right. If it looks like it's going to be, the final is going to be 100 questions. That's a good question, Brooke. And there will be very few road signs. It's not going to be as heavy. The midterm was very heavy in road signs because that was basically what we were in at that time. And there are so many different signs that are out there. And I really wanted to push you and test you to see if you could figure out by shape, color, and symbol what the signs are going to be. No, it's not going to be that heavy on signs. No, it's going to be more on the material, especially more of the material that we've gone over in the last couple days. It's going to be very heavy on that. Now, I still haven't received worksheets and end of chapter test for a lot of people. So go through your text messages, and if I sent you something, you got to send me back. Okay? Send me back the material that I sent out to you. Now, this is really important. I guess I'll talk about it right now. Since this is our last week, I am starting up a new program on Monday, just like I would if we were back at the high school. So I want to make sure that everybody, at the end of today, I want you to text me whether you can meet me at the high school at 9:30 on Saturday. All I want you to do is to take all paperwork out of your textbook, bring it to the high school, and drop it in a bucket. I'm going to be there sitting in a chair or in my car, and you're going to go up to the bucket and just put your textbook. I am going to have wipes. I'm going to clean down the textbook, and I'm going to wait in the car for 10 o'clock to come around, and my new students are going to come at 10 o'clock to pick up the textbooks. Okay, so get all your work that you need done for me in this week, because I need the textbook. So at the very end, I'm going to ask you again to text me that you've left the session and that you can meet me at 9:30 on Saturday. So let's get into what we're covering today. Texting and driving are distracted, and there are different forms of distracted driving that is out there. So don't be fooled. A lot of people feel that once they get comfortable with driving, maybe it's not that bad that I look down at my phone. Maybe it's not too bad that I'm not paying attention like I used to when I first started to learn how to drive. When you start driving all by yourself the first week or 2 months, you're going to be one of the better drivers out on the road. You are so into, yeah, you can keep the manual. I don't need the manual. Just bring back the textbook. Responsible driving is what I want handed in. The manual you keep. That's a good question, Josie. So the thought of multitasking seems safe, but it's the furthest thing from the truth. So any activity that takes your attention away from driving is going to make you less of a good driver. Now, the problem with that is sometimes we settle for just being okay. It's okay that I drifted over the line. It's okay that I didn't come to a complete stop. And your driving is going to start going into what we call a gray area. It's not as black and white anymore with laws and rules and techniques. You start rationalizing away what you're doing in a vehicle. That's going to make you a worse driver. So let's see if this works. Hopefully it does.
Hi, Dave. My mate Jules fancies you. Huh?
It's not a free
It's not even funny now. Let me just get his number.
Ring an ambulance! Ring an ambulance! Stay still! I can't open the door. I've rung an ambulance.
We've got other people on the route to help, okay?
Please, look straight at me for a second.
3 vehicles have been involved.
Right.
2 people in the vehicle there. I can't get any response out of them
Are they the ones in the front or the ones in the back?
Mommy, Daddy, wake up! Mommy, Daddy, wake up!
Right, I just can't get any response whatsoever.
I want Mommy and Daddy to wake up.
Any pain in your neck at all? You're nice and still for me. Alright, keep looking at me. Alright. Cassie, can you hear me? What's your friend's name in the back? What is it? Jules, is it? No, she's still there for me.
How about now? Now I see it. I got levels. Oh, now it's back. Okay, I'm going to give you just a little bit of time. I think when I switched over from video to the PowerPoint, that's when I lost it. Yeah, I know. Once again, it's frozen up. I'm going to wait just a moment. Can everybody hear me now? Okay, now I think people can hear me. Okay, what I was saying is that this video basically goes over a lot of the things that we talked about in driver's ed, about failing to see someone drifting over the center line and not being able to adjust your speed, your position to what's going on. If we take a look at the crash itself and look through it through the eyes of someone who may be thinking of the cost of a crash, like with insurance, this one crash was probably hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, a lot of money because of this one crash, and all because she wanted to respond to probably her boyfriend. Okay, what you think is important is not as important to what other people are doing out on the roadway. You can't put yourself ahead of other people. You've got to just drive. You've got to do the best that you possibly can with driving. Now, in the phone, it talks about the mind, and it's going to be like a spinning wheel. Okay, it's a static picture, so if it was a video, it would be going around and around in a circle. But a lot of people are killed and injured in distracted driving crashes. Now, I don't expect you to write down these numbers to know how many people are injured or die each year. All I want you to know, it's a lot of people, and it's all caused by something that should have never taken place. But to the right of the slide, in the phone, it talks about 4 ways that you are distracted: manually, visually, cognitively, and auditory. So let's kind of take a look at each one. So what I want you to write down, with cognitive, this is distractions of thought and concentration. This is the passenger that's talking to you. This is the radio. Okay, that would be auditory, be using your ears. But the thinking process is cognitive. Auditory would be noise. So people and the radio. Visual, be your eyes looking at your phone, maybe looking at a dog off on the side of the road, looking at a car crash to the left, but not paying attention to what's in front of you. And then manually, this would be people picking up maybe a cup of coffee, trying to grab a burger, some fries. And most of these things are very subtle, where we don't really think on the surface that it's going to really create that much of a problem. And if we were in class, I actually have a exercise that we do where you have to balance a golf ball on a golf tee that's taped at the end of a pencil. And I throw you a tennis ball, and you try to catch the tennis ball and still balance the golf ball. And because that golf ball is so small on the tee, that it's very easy to move your hands ever so slightly, and the ball will come off the tee. You catch the tennis ball, but you drop the golf ball. Or the golf ball stays and you miss the tennis ball. And that's the thing about being distracted. You may be able to do one thing well, but you're not doing something at all very well. And a lot of times people are more into what they're trying to focus on with listening, thinking, picking up, and it's the driving that is being affected. So let's talk about some of the worst case scenarios for being distracted. Up at the top of the list, write down in your notes, by far texting, because you're not only thinking about what you're doing or writing or reading, is that you're using your fingers. So you've got that cognitive and you've got the manual. You've got 2 distractions that are going on. Talking on the phone, probably more cognitive because you're not using your hands, although one hand is going off the wheel if you're holding up your phone to your ear. Changing or playing music, eating, grooming, and talking to passengers. And I believe Liberty Mutual, I think this is the next slide. Liberty Mutual has broken down the activities drivers do and how much they increase the risk of a crash. So notice texting driving is 23.2 times greater of being involved in a crash if you're doing this. Reading a text, it drops way down to 3.4. Then applying makeup, dial a handheld device, handling a CD or working on the radio, eating and listening or talking is still somewhat of a distraction. All going to create problems for you as a driver. Now, many states do have a ban on texting. So this map is a little bit outdated. I want you to put down in your notes, every single state has some form of a law banning texting, whether it be just young people or every driver, or that you can only use Bluetooth. There is some type of law that is trying to reel you in to what you're able to do while you're driving. So don't think, and remember, as we said before, every state that you go into, you're not going to possibly learn every law from every state. So most states will put just beyond the state line on a big, billboard, all the important laws that you should be following, like seat belts, texting, removing snow. And now with these LED signs, they're actually changing the messages as you go in to a different state. So read your signs as you're going from state to state. I couldn't find the video that I have right here. It says it's been proven to be as bad as DWI, but they did a test with two young male adults, and one in 20s and one in their 30s. And they gave them alcohol on a race drag, on a raceway, and they tested their reaction time. And what they found is that texting is really worse than drunk driving. And the reason being is that you're taking your eyes off the road to read the text and maybe find letters on your keyboard, whereas a drunk driver, even though their reflexes are slower, they're still looking at the road. They're still responding to things that are changing up ahead. So texting, and this is why we're having so many injuries and such a problem with deaths on the highway now with distracted driving, is because people just don't think they're that bad. And that's why they're doing it. This I do have. Let's see if I can get this going.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, man. I was looking at the guy, what the fuck? Look at him, man.
Can you see that he's on the
He's
phone?
on his phone. He's texting. That's when we go on his side, dude.
Now this is wrong
He
on
was
so many
chilling.
levels.
He's a motorbike.
If he hits a pothole, if a car
Hey,
veers
what
to
do
the
you
left
think?
or to
That's
the
crazy,
right.
dude. Dude, this is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. He's turning everything. He's doing it all, bro. He's turning everything. Yo, what?
Okay, just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should do something. Now, is this rider very talented? Absolutely. Okay, not very many people can take their hands off the handlebars and still operate a motorcycle, and they're probably going, it looks like a highway, so it looks like they're going highway speed. But if anything bad happened, there is no way that he's going to be able to handle his bike. Someone is going to get hurt, and it's probably him. And if you take a look at the picture right now, how close is that silver car to where he's riding? And he's not in the center of his lane. Yeah. And the guy in the car, now this is probably over in Europe, so it looks like he's in the driver's seat, but actually the steering wheel could be over to the right depending on what country it is. But yeah, that's pretty bad. Okay, these are some facts that I do want you to write down. Okay, number one killer of teens in America is distracted driving. So more teens are dying in an automobile because they're doing something other than driving. 5 seconds is the average time a driver will take their eyes off the road and feel comfortable doing it while texting. Now think about the next time that you're out in the car driving with your parents. Tell your parents to watch the road for you and see if your parents will let you close your eyes for 5 seconds. They're going to probably think, what is your driving ed teacher trying to do? Kill us? I mean, that's crazy thinking. There is no way that anybody in their sound mind would say, yeah, let me try this. I'll close my eyes 5 seconds and let's see what I do out on the roadway. You're not going to stay in your lane. Now, you could be on a straight road and possibly you could stay in your lane slightly. But remember, not every road is straight. Not every road has flat pavement. There's going to be what we call undulation, where the road dips and comes up, even though we know it's banked or crowned, that your steering is going to be affected. But yet people will constantly, and I think you've seen this as a passenger. How many times have you been at a traffic light and the car behind you is texting, the light turns green, you move ahead, and they're still way behind you? There's a log. There's a lag in time. They don't realize what's happening. The last thing I want you to write down is 34% teens who drive while distracted say they're used to multitasking. you're reinforcing a bad habit. The more that you do it, you get away with it without anything bad happening. It's just going to continue to get worse. Continue to get worse until something extremely bad happens. 6 out of 10 teen crashes involve driver distraction. So I don't want you to write this down because we've kind of talked about this already. But what we find, the most common forms of distraction leading to a teen driver crash includes 15%, the highest number, interacting with one or more passengers. So this is why the state requires you to only have one passenger in the car. Once we start adding 2, 3, 4, there's just too much conversation, there's too much distraction, and it's going to make you more risky in your driving. 12% using a cell phone. So this is why we've restricted the use of cell phones for minors. And we'll talk about that at the end of today's session. 10% looking at something in the vehicle. So it could be looking up at your rearview mirror, trying to readjust it, looking over at the glove compartment, trying to find something that you've left in there. Looking at something outside of the vehicles, 9%. 8% is singing, dancing to music. 6% is grooming. And 6% is also reaching for an object. Some more numbers that I'm not going to really get into, and I'm trying to update, but 2015, roughly 37,000 lives were lost. In 2016, an increase of 5.6 from 2015. It's always underreported, and I kind of like that statement right there because a lot, just like with fatigue, there's no way you really can prove that someone's nodding off when they went off the road and hit the telephone pole. Same thing with distracted driving. Most people aren't going to say to a police officer, "Oh yeah, I was looking at my phone when I veered to the right and I ran into the parked car." People are going to say, "No, an animal came out in front of me, so I moved to the right, then I hit the parked car." Now, I want you to take a look at this graph and look at 2014. Under 3,000 people were involved in fatalities with distracted driving. And then all of a sudden it spikes in 2015, 2016. Do you know why? Let's see if anybody wants to take a guess. Now, I'm going to answer it in just a few seconds, but I want to see, because it's going to be a lag, because I know we do have a lag in what's being broadcast right now. But if you think you know why there was such a huge jump, I mean, it is huge of a jump. I'll see if anybody wants to take a guess. But now I'm going to give you the answer. We went from flip phones to the iPhone. Most people switched over in 2015 to get the new type of phone rather than having the old. You guys are probably so young you don't even remember a flip phone. You probably didn't have one. Because this is 6 years ago, so that makes you 10 years old. Maybe your parents gave you a phone. But it spikes at 2015, 2016, and then all of a sudden it drops down. So now we've got to think about, why did it drop down? Why down? Yeah, or your first phone. Absolutely. Now people are better phones. Yeah, we got some smart people here. There you go. Good that you guys are answering this stuff. Okay, the reason why we had a dramatic drop again, where we almost cut it in half from 2016, 2017, is that we started passing laws. All of a sudden, people started realizing, whoa, if I get caught, this is going to cost me. There's going to be a lot going on with my license that I don't want to happen. And people started to curb back on what they did on their cell phones. Now, what happens in 2018? There's an uptick. So what do we learn from that? People find out that maybe the police aren't enforcing this like they said they were going to. And all of a sudden, you do it once a month, and you get away with it for about 3-4 months. And you go, well, I've only did it like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. Now all of a sudden it gets to be twice a month, then 3 times a month, and it's going up. And now in 2019, it is much higher than 2018. Now, this I do want you to write down because I want you to understand where you're going to get hit. If you know where you're going to be hit, you should be checking your mirrors or being observant of your driving situation. Studies have found teen drivers were distracted in the following percentage of crashes. By far, the biggest problem is leaving your lane. You're going over the center line or you're going over the white edge line, the fog line. You're leaving the road. Almost 90% of the time. Rear end collisions that you're going slow up to a stop sign and you think, oh yeah, I see the car stopped in front of me, but I'm still going to look down, grab my phone and get ready to text while there's a red light or a stop sign. And you're not on the brake enough and then you just hit the person behind you. Getting hit at an angle, it's because you're leaving the road. So road departure and hitting at an angle is really, there's a lot to be said right there. At an angle is really hitting another vehicle. And then loss of control is you're just hitting a number of things. Could be a number of things. Okay, I'm going to show you, I don't know if you've seen this, but back probably about 3-4 years ago, I think it was during the last Olympics, AT&T put on a big push trying to get people to put their phone away and giving stories or real life stories of people that were involved in crashes doing simple texts. So I'm gonna show you that.
My name is Grant Hendricks. I'm a trooper with the Missouri State Highway Patrol. I'm at the site of Mariah West's accident. Mariah's vehicle traveled across this median and ended in striking the bridge that you can see behind me. When I got to the scene, her face was disfigured from sliding down the roadway. It's funny, the first thing I noticed about her was her shoes. Lying in the roadway in a large pool of blood, I noticed her shoes and I thought, this is a young girl. That's the first thing I thought when I saw this. And at that point is when I noticed her cap and gown was still in her car. She was going to graduate the next day. It was just a really horrific scene. All because of a senseless text message. It's just sad. Sorry, it's just sad.
Ashley would text hundreds of messages every day. That was the way we kept in touch. We would definitely text more than we talked.
Mariah was a multitasker extraordinaire.
She could text better than anyone I know. She could be having one conversation with me, completely focused,
while having a text conversation with somebody else.
When you do something 7,000 times a month, you tend to learn where those 26 letters are.
We would be at school, at home, movies, bowling, driving.
Not even looking at her phone.
Just simple,
insignificant,
useless bullshit, whatever it may be.
About anything and everything.
Just a way to pass time.
It didn't matter where we were constantly texting. This is my sister. She was looking at my message that I had just sent her. When she looked up, she had clipped the median on the left-hand side of the road. Her truck flipped, and as it was flipping, she was actually ejected through the driver's side door, and she landed in the ditch about 300 feet from her truck. People will tell you over and over again, it's not your fault. But knowing that you were the person that she was talking to when she was killed. Just knowing, having a highway patrol officer write in a report that a text message sent at 12:05 is the reason that she is dead is not something that will ever go away. If I could talk to her one last time, I would just say, I'm sorry. This is her cell phone that she used in the accident. 4 little letters. That's what killed her.
You never really think about it, but people associate drinking and driving as a dangerous thing. Your vision's impaired, your judgment's impaired. But if you look at texting and driving, your vision's not even there. You're not even looking at the road. If someone were to ask me to drive down the road and close your eyes for 5 seconds or 6 seconds, I would never even attempt that. But then if someone asks, read this text message and respond to that in about the same length of time, well, that would be no problem. I'd done that numerous times in the past before this accident. I was on my way home. I had my girlfriend in the car, and I'm just reading a text message, responding. I was looking up every couple seconds or so, like I always did. And I just hear a loud scream next to me, and the next second I look up and I see a bicyclist crashing the windshield. When I got out of the car, he didn't have a pulse, he wasn't breathing. He wasn't alive. There are no words to describe the level of grief, the level of depression and self-hatred I was going through. My first year of college, I just remember one girl recognizing me and saying, oh, I remember hearing about you. You're that guy who hit the bicyclist because you were texting and driving. That was actually the day before I ended up going to the hospital for emotional problems. I sent one stupid, meaningless text, LOL, and killed a man.
People don't realize it could just take 3 seconds. I was going to the movies and the car just went directly into a tree and it was a direct collision. I was the passenger. I collided with the tree on my right temple and I was declared dead on the scene 3 times. I used to be able to drive. I used to be able to go for walks. I used to be able to run around town by myself. I used to have a job. I was normal. And all this I cannot do anymore because they had the text. This is the text message that changed my life forever.
The day before her graduation, my daughter drove to go meet a boy, and she never made it. Today, she would have been 19 years old, exactly.
Mariah never wanted a minute to go by that she wasn't doing something. She wanted to do everything all at one time with friends and family and just having a good time. That's what she loved.
Friends would tell me from school that, you know, the best part of the day at school was Mariah coming down the hall because she'd stop to give everyone a hug. Okay, guys, in honor of Mariah. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mariah.
She had met a guy who played baseball, and one evening she just spontaneously got in her car and said, "Hey, I'm gonna come watch his game." He was texting her to tell her directions of where she needed to go.
And I guess she just looked away for too long. Where are you at, you know? Like that was it.
One of her friends had no idea that she had been in an accident, so he kept texting. We ended up having to send him a text back to say, please stop. She's in critical condition in the hospital, and we don't know if she'll even make it.
She always worked her magic, you know, and still to this day, without her being here, she's so much still a part of our lives every day.
She was our sunshine. She really was. She was.
It's a simple text message. Where are you at? 3 simple words.
She paid the ultimate price for her actions. I've had to do this more than once. Mariah is not the only victim that I've dealt with. And it never gets any easier. And it won't get any easier. What is worth losing your life over? That text message?
Okay, what I want you to do, I want you to text me if during the video you checked your phone, because I text everyone a message. So I did our group message. I sent a text. I want those of you that looked at it to be honest and put in the comments here in YouTube that you actually looked at your phone while this video was going. Because this was kind of a trick. I wanted to show you that it's too easy to see our phone light up, to hear a beep, and to look down away from it. Okay, I wanted you to watch the video, and you're thinking, well, you know, I can always go back, you know, after today's class and rewind it if I'm missing it. But the thing is, same thing with driving. You think it's not that big of a deal. I can look down for a moment. So I found this photo, and here's a person that was texting and went off the edge of the road. It's one of those old guardrails that wasn't built correctly. So the car impaled the guardrail right down the middle, and we know there's fatalities here. There's no way that anybody in this vehicle probably survived. The driver definitely not. But the question is, was that text message that important? So when you think about, I just text you, you know, an important message, because I truly believe texting and driving is bad, so be safe. But could you have checked your phone when we're done today's session? Don't think that you always have to look at your phone. If you only have a 10-minute drive, waiting 10 minutes isn't going to change anything. It really isn't. But we're almost to the point now that our phone is kind of a part of our body. It's an appendage. It becomes like another arm. We have to know what's going on at all times. Yeah, and you would think that people would learn from their mistakes. Here's a girl who survived texting and driving once, but then the article says she runs out of luck. What makes this so ironic? If you read the top, I love the honesty. Thank you, Josie. Thank you, Natalie. Rachel, good. Brooke, see, Luca. See, we're creatures of habit. Now, when you look at this picture and you read the top line, I want you to key on the very last sentence. Guess what happened exactly 1 year later? This girl died on the anniversary date of her first distracted driving crash. How strange is that? Now, I'm almost guaranteed that that's not the first time that she texted while driving since her crash. But it seems to be kind of ironic that a day that she did lose her life was 1 year prior or ahead of the date that she had her first crash. So she's probably doing it quite frequently. So what can you do? Turn off your phone before driving is probably the best, because if you don't see it light up, if you don't hear a sound, you're not going to do anything. It's when we hear the sound, if we see the light, then we feel we got to deal with it. We got to do it. Put it someplace that you can't reach, probably in the back glove compartment. Because if you know that you've got to get out of your normal driving position, you're less likely to be grabbing for it. When it comes to music, know what you want to listen to and have it all set before you drive. Don't be one of those that constantly wants to change the station. If you do change the station, do it while you're stopped, not while you're moving. A lot of times people feel like they have to be on their phone because they're late. So I have to tell my mom that I'm running late. I've got to answer my phone because this is for a job interview. Well, for the most part, they'd probably leave a voice message. You don't have to talk right then. Now, if you really do think that you've got to deal with the situation, pull over. Pull over to the side of the road. But make sure that it's someplace that's safe. Now, the side of the road isn't a good place. Oh, I want you to write this down in your notes. The state of New Hampshire does not allow you to be on the side of the road on your phone, talking or texting. It's got to be in a parking lot. It's got to be in a driveway, because the law is on any public roadway, and it doesn't stem around the movement of the vehicle. It means that the vehicle is on. I guess you could probably be off the side of the road with the car off. I'll have to look into that, and then it would be okay. But if your car is in park, or if you're just stopped and drive and you're not moving but you're on your phone and they can tell that you're still in drive, I don't know how they would do that, but I guess they could, then I think you're going to probably run into a problem. Make a better effort to stick to not texting and driving. It's almost like when New Year's comes around, everybody says, I'm going to be better at the way that I eat, or the way that I exercise, or I'm going to go visit friends, once a week. And you make up these things that you're going to do, and you never follow through with it. The same thing is saying, I'm not going to text and drive, but then you don't follow through with it. You've got to be able to stick with it and do it for a long period of time for it to become a habit. I think they said if you do it like for 30 days, then you're almost to the point where you're making that a habit. Don't be too sure you won't get caught. With technology always changing, just because you think you've got your phone down and they can't see it at the window, or the front window, or the side window, that you're getting away with it. Here it says that the new technology, these radar gun clocks, are looking for people that are speeding. However, that is not the only thing that these radar guns can detect. Many people believe that officers are only using these guns to track speed, but they are also using this to see if people are texting and driving. So that's technology that's out there. And then you just have plane trying to out sneak you, where they get situated in a semi-tractor trailer truck in the passenger seat, and they just drive along the highway because they're looking down at you as they go by you. And notice that the officer in the passenger seat has his phone. So I'm sure he's calling one of his fellow trooper to say the blue Honda Civic that just went by is on their phone, pull them over. And that's how they're going to get you for being on your phone. They're going to have a visual idea of what's going on. And they could maybe even use cameras from that vantage point. So let's take a look here in New Hampshire. What's going to happen if you do text and drive? So this was back in 2015. So July 1st is coming around the corner. So it's going to be 5 years. And remember the graph that we talked about? This is when things started to change in 16 and 17. The new hands-free electronic device law in New Hampshire that was going into effect July 1st states that no use of handheld electronic devices capable of providing voice or data communication while driving or temporarily halted in traffic at a stop sign, traffic signal, or any other momentary delay. So that's what I was talking about, being over to the side of the road. They just don't want you to do that. So what are they restricting you to? This includes cell phones, GPS, tablets, iPods, iPads, anything where you're putting data into the phone. So that means you're hitting digits or letters. Now, calls of 911 or any safety agencies will be allowed. So there's going to be a record of that. At the time that they stopped you, they could take a look at your phone record and see that the reason why you're on the phone, they can see that you actually called one of these agencies. Bluetooth or other handheld electronic devices will be allowed. That's for adults. One-hand non-cellular two-way radios can be used for truckers. Teen drivers under the age of 18, so that's all of you, will not be allowed to use any electronic devices, handheld or not, except to report an emergency, as we stated before. So your first violation is $100. Second offense goes to $250, and then third, within 2 years, up to $500. And I do know people that have been stopped and have been given a ticket for being on their phone. It's a pretty good fine, $100. I'm sure you've got other things you want to spend your money on. But as you can see, distracted driving, there is really no way that you're going to talk me into believing that you can be just as good on your phone or doing other things than if you were totally 100% locked into your driving. I just don't think that's possible. Let's just get out of that. Okay, so I'm in the little screen. So we'll go from there. I don't think that I can get out of everything. Oh, there we go. All right. So I'm going to talk to the phone. So that basically ends things for today. We really didn't get into parking that much. I don't think I'm going to have a whole lot. I'll have to take a look at the final if I have a couple questions with parking. Because we're not doing our driving, I kind of skipped over that. And in the manual, you had it in the textbook. So the textbook just talked about technique, but it really didn't talk about illegal parking within so many feet of like a crosswalk, stop sign, and things like that. So I'll have to take a look at that question, or a couple questions are in the final for tomorrow. So what I'd like you to do, okay, if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. It's going to help me get this out to other people. I'm putting a lot of time and effort into this stuff, so I'd like to see if I can help other people too, get some exposure. So if you haven't done that, that would really help me out. I'd appreciate it. Same thing with liking our session that we had today, or other sessions, or leaving a comment. All those things will help me to kind of get out there. And I'm trying to really, thanks a lot. I see a couple thumbs up. I appreciate that. And I am working on the video quality and other things just to make a better program for people. And I can't say enough how impressed I am with everybody signing in around 4 o'clock, staying for the most part. I'm going to take a look right now. We got 15 people still on looking at today's session. You should be applauded for what you're going through right now. It's not fair to you. I understand that, because it is delaying your driving and your license, but we're trying to make the best of it, and I appreciate the time and effort you're putting into it. We're right up against the final for tomorrow, so like I said at the beginning of today, please try to hand in the rest, because what that is going to do, even if you have one or two things missing, I understand that, but it shows me the time and effort that you put into understanding the material that we're going over. So if you're putting in an effort to be here, to stay for the whole thing, to listen, to do your readings, to do those chapter tests at the end, to do the worksheets, tomorrow, if you need a couple extra points, I'm not going to give you extra work. For those of you that don't do well tomorrow, okay, even though this session is over, you do not pass the classroom. There are two portions of getting your license: completing the classroom, completing the driving. So after today, no more classroom. You've got to show me you know the material. If you do not score it, if it's 65 or above, you may have to take this again. All right? So all this extra homework and stuff that you've been doing will give you some extra credit if you're above the 65 to like 75, 80. So I'm looking for that. I'd like to see an 80, but if you get around a 75 and you've been hanging in here for all the sessions and everything, I'm going to throw some extra points your way, and we're going to call it good for the classroom portion. So let's talk about the driving. After today, or after tomorrow, I should say, once I figure out I can get the okay from the state, Department of Safety, get an okay from the high school, I'm going to start driving again. And we're just going to have to work. I will tell you that I'm going to give you top priority over the people that are just joining on Monday. That's only fair, but you're going to have to give up some things. You're going to have to give up a Saturday, driving later at night. I'm going to probably end up driving at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night just to get things done so I don't get too piled up, because not only finishing your class and starting another one, I could end up having over 200, 250 hours of driving to do, and that's going to be tough to do, especially if you still got schoolwork to do. So this ends it for today. Like I said, everybody should have the worksheets, and text me that you're going to be there on Saturday, so I know how many textbooks that I'm going to have, because I need enough to give to the next class. So please text me that this is the end of today's session and that you will be there Saturday at 9:30. Okay? You're just dropping it off and then you're leaving. We're not getting close to other people or getting close to me. That's it. So good night. 8 o'clock, I should have the answers for you for your review. Study hard.